Okay, so I'm going to be walking you through exactly how you can prevent failure or crumbling under pressure, however you want to basically frame it in your own head, right? I think it's this very simple equation of outcome focused, imagination and inconvenience, and that all equals failure. Now, I want to get into this a little bit further, but you need to listen to me, because otherwise you will actually not understand this. You will keep failing over and over again, and I know that you are sick of that now. So, lock the fuck in, close all your tabs, just fix up, let's go. So, bit about me. I made myself a challenge 9 days ago at the start of October to cash collect 10k at a 1.5k retainer and awful show rates, as well as no paid advertising, just completely cold outreach. And over these past couple days, I have folded under pressure. Now, two things: imagination, outcome focused. 3 actually, inconvenience. I'm telling you this, but I can't do maths. Anyway, let's just kind of run through it. So, outcome focused, imagination and inconvenience, failure, right? I think failure is the easiest thing to talk about right now, so let's just outline that. Failure. What is failure? Failure is not succeeding at what you said you were going to do, right? That ultimately is failure. Now that we cleared that up, don't think you needed that a lot, but I like to have everything clear so that we can relate it all back to one point. Now we're going to talk about imagination, because this is really important and I've been learning about this recently. Okay, so let's have imagination here. Imagination. Oh my god, I spelled that wrong. Imagination. Lovely. Right. So, I want you guys to know that there are 2 types. Imagination. I want you guys to know that there are 2 types of imagination. Okay, let me just kind of put it over here. There is positive, and there is negative. Cool. Now, what do I mean by positive and negative imagination? Well, it seems pretty self-explanatory, but it's actually a little bit more complex than you think. So, let me kind of visualize this in a kind of gym environment, okay? That way maybe people might understand it better. We have John, okay? And we have Joe, right? Now, I think it was the other way around, but it's okay. Joe's positive, John's negative. I want you to tell me who is going to receive the benefits of the gym more. So what are the benefits of the gym? The benefits of the gym are attractiveness, physical strength, mental resilience. That's spelled wrong. And many other things, right? But just to keep it short for time's sake, we've got some of the key things about the gym here, okay? Now, Joe loves going to the gym because it hurts, right? Joe loves going to the gym because he looks bigger and better. And Joe also loves going to the gym. To throw cars and help his mum with shopping, right? So this is Joe. But then this is John. I want you to tell me, who is imagining positive and who's imagining negative, okay? I'm not going to speak, I just want you to read this and then tell me That way I know that you guys are watching and paying attention. So, I want you, out of these two people, to tell me who is imagining positive, who is imagining negative. Well, it's clearly Joe. He's imagining positive, and John, well, he's obviously imagining negative, right? Now, another question. Who will receive these benefits from the gym? Is it John or is it Joe? Well, it's obviously Joe, more often than John. Why? Because Joe's perception, Joe's imagination of the gym are positive thoughts, right? And because they are positive, he will receive the benefits. Do you see how that makes sense? So, there's two ways that we can imagine something, and it's positive and negative. The person who often has a positive perception of things, a positive imagination, a positive visualization or mental image, they will most likely reap the rewards and benefits of that particular thing. The person with a negative outlook will only have friction and will only do themselves injustice. They'll shoot themselves in their own foot. As I was saying, best thing to really do is to have a positive image of everything, right? Now, the question is how, and what do I mean by that? And what I mean by that is we all have an image of something in our head, in our subconscious, whether it's positive or negative. What we have to do is we have to identify the negative pictures, the negative imagination in our head, and then flip it on its head so it's positive, right? So, for example, you might not like certain parts of yourself, or you might not like doing XYZ work, right? Maybe you don't like the numbers in your bank account. So, just imagine you doing the work and it's positive. The positive impacts of you doing the work. Imagine how it will feel after the gym. Imagine the numbers in your bank account once you implement those things that were the other 2 points. So, you can, essentially reframe anything inside of your mind. In fact, right now, I am just annoyed. I feel like flipping clustered up. Maybe you can tell. I don't know, fuck me. Shut the fuck up. Alright, I just imagine the food that I'm gonna have after this, because that's gonna be fucking fire. So I'm gonna get through this, I'm gonna smash it, and then I'm gonna go make myself some nice food because I ain't ate today and it's 5:31. So that's exciting. So do you see how I just had a negative image? That was in real time. I just had a negative image, like a imagination of filming this video, thinking it's gonna be long, blah blah blah, and I thought, I've got to flip this on its head. I'm gonna flip it to a positive, and I'm gonna eat some fire scran after. And I really hope people don't think this is fake, because you can see on my face. I wish you could feel it right now. I'm kind of suppressing it, but I'm excited for that food, so I'm excited to do this video. But you see how that in itself, you just flipped it on its head. You flipped the script, And that is exactly how you do it. Anyway, I feel like I've gone on, I've kind of rambled a little bit. So, it's actually usually negative action. I'm just going to put this up here. This food's going to be so fire. And then inconvenience. So what do I mean by inconvenience, right? By inconvenience, I mean anything, like literally anything. Inconvenience. Anything that adds friction, right? So for example, what happened with me is I was on a cold call, and in fact it was just the whole day of outreach. It was just the whole day of outreach, right? And case after case I got fuck off, no, shut up, I'm gonna fuck your mum, astaghfirullah. But these kind of things being said to me. Now you can see how going down the hill and then having an uphill and then going down the hill, this is a point of friction because it's got to go uphill. You can see how that point there is a lot of friction. That rejection, that hurting of my ego, however you want to fucking word it, right? That was an inconvenience, so that was friction. So anything that adds friction from your desired state, right? So I'm going to break this down like even simpler. You wake up in the morning, right? You wake up, you think it's going to be a good day today. So, you know, you get up, you get ready. Boom. Car crash. Car crash. And then, from waking up and thinking, today's a good day, now you got in a car crash, which is the friction, okay? And then, that results in like a flip, right? Because it's negative, it's a negative imagination having a car crash. There's nothing positive, but I'm sure you can find the positives in having a car crash. Anyway, now it's bad day, because you've had friction from your desired outcome, right? However, if you didn't have the friction and you just went about your day and, I don't know, something that you thought was positive happened, so like positivity, which is so broad, anything can be positive, then what's going to happen is you'll have a good day because there wasn't as much friction, so therefore you've achieved the desired outcome at the start of the day. Right, so let's break this down a little bit, just to make this very clear. You wake up, you think today's going to be a good day, you get ready, and then you have a car crash. Because that's friction, that's going to result in you having a bad day, depending on how you frame it in your head, obviously. However, today's a good day, you get up, everything's positive, you've made some money, and then you achieve the desired outcome, the desired state that you basically told yourself at the start of the day. So it's coherent, it's aligned. So what's happening here is that whenever you have a downwards goal, okay, so this would be an example of a downwards, right? And then this would be an example of a down, up, and down. Fucking hell, that. I don't want to confuse you guys, but like, can you see how the friction is the point here, right? And then this is just like a smooth downwards because it's the positivity, there's no friction. Flipping hell, wow, I've actually just confused myself. When we have, you know, this kind of friction, here's the inconvenience, right, is when it goes like this, and then what happens is that becomes a negative imagination, the inconvenience. You start to think about it negatively, what if it happens again, blah blah blah, and then that in itself, the imagination, then becomes an inconvenience, right? I think that makes sense. It makes sense in my head. I don't know if it makes sense on the video, but I know that I'll get better over time. So outcome focused, right? what is outcome focused? Hear this. To be outcome focused, you are literally all of these things. Wrong. Outcome focused, right? You are anxiety, right? Because let's say I want to hit 10k by the end of October in extra cash collected. How am I going to do it? Blah, 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 blah. So am I in no way saying that you shouldn't have an outcome goal, but you shouldn't be focused on the outcome. Because that makes you anxious, which then lowers your emotional state. And that then allows you to have a negative imagination. So do you see how it kind of just happens, right? Let me draw the line here. Boom. There we go. Then you have a negative imagination. You end up like John. You don't see the benefits of what you're actually doing. You don't end up having those benefits. And then from there, because of your imagination, you'll find a way of having friction. You'll find an inconvenience because bad things come in three. It's just because you look out for the friction, because you have a negative imagination, because you are anxious, and that puts your your state of emotion in a lower kind of bracket, all because you're outcome focused. Now you can see how it all links here, right? And then the failure happens because all three of these conditions are true, right? So let's just say, do you know what? Let's type this equation out again, right? I'm going to take you through this. So all three of these conditions are true. And I'm convinced, right? I'm convinced that if you take one of these away or redo it, you will get success. So let's try it out. Based on what I've just talked about then, let's try it out. So, input focused. What's going to happen if we're input focused instead of, outcome focused? Okay, so you can, for the sake of argument, we'll stick with like negative imagination. But you're input focused. Cool, so I'm going to do 100 cold calls. I think it's going to be bad. And, I might get a couple fuck-offs, right? But you still do the 200. But you still focus on the input. So you do not fail. What if we changed it to positive? Right? And then we were outcome focused. Right. Let's see. So, if we have positive imagination and we are outcome focused, that's going to take us down this. Today's going to be a good day. Outcome of the day. Positivity, desired outcome at the start of the day. Furthermore, he loves going to the gym. Blah, 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 blah. Right? Get the benefits. So when we think about it, right, this doesn't equal failure as well. This equals success. And then if there's no inconvenience, and your imagination is negative, but there's no inconvenience, meaning nothing bad's happening that day, then it's still successful. And the reason that it's still successful is because success is how you determine it to be, right? For example, let's go back to input focused, right? That equals success because you focused on the inputs, got the inputs done, and that is your measure of success, right? And then likewise, like wow, success. I've just realised it. Success is obviously a figment of your imagination, really. If you imagine success as positive, then cool. If you imagine it as negative, it's negative. The point that I'm making here is that you need all three of these to fold, to fail, and to crumble. And if one of them's there, but the other two aren't, you will succeed. And if two of them are there, but the other one isn't, you probably will succeed. So, to be honest, I have no clue how to even end off this video. But I've just made this a mental diagram for myself. And hopefully you guys have learned something in this video as well. So yeah.